The first night on the island, I heard something walking around our tent. Not an animal, not the wind. Whatever it was, it stopped right outside my side of the tent and just stood there. I haven't been able to sleep right since. My name is Daniel Marsh. In the summer of 2019, my friend Caleb and I rented a small kayak and paddled out to a tiny unnamed island off the coast of Maine. It was roughly 3 miles from the nearest town. No bridges, no ferry service, just us, our camping gear, and what we thought would be 4 days of peaceful isolation. We arrived late in the afternoon. The island was maybe half a mile across, dense pine trees in the center, rocky shoreline all around, the kind of place that feels untouched, the kind of place that makes you feel small without knowing exactly why. We set up camp near the tree line, close enough to the water that we could hear the tide. Caleb made a fire. We ate, we talked, and by 9 o'clock the darkness around us was total. There were no streetlights out there, no distant glow from a highway. When the fire died down, the dark pressed in close, like something physical. I fell asleep around 10. At some point in the night, I later checked my watch and it was 2:14 a.m. I woke up. I didn't know why at first, that groggy, half-awake confusion. But then I heard it. Footsteps, slow, deliberate ones. Something walking through the pine needles and dry leaves just beyond the tent wall. I told myself it was a deer. Maine has deer. I almost believed it until the footsteps stopped directly beside me, just on the other side of the thin nylon fabric. I could have reached out and touched whatever was standing there. I didn't move. I barely breathed. Caleb was asleep beside me. His breathing was slow and even. The fire outside had gone completely dark, and whatever was outside just stood there, not sniffing around like an animal would, not shifting its weight. It just stood there in complete silence for what felt like 4 or 5 minutes. Then it walked away, back toward the water. I listened to the footsteps fade, and then there was nothing but the tide. I didn't wake Caleb. I told myself I had imagined it. By morning, I half believed that. The second night, I woke up at the same time, 2:14. I looked at my watch first this time, before I even registered the sound, like my body already knew, and the footsteps were there again, same pace, same path around the tent, and again they stopped beside me. This time I had my flashlight. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely hold it. I waited until the footsteps moved slightly, just a few feet from directly beside me, and I unzipped the tent and shone the light outside. Nothing. Pine needles, rocks, darkness beyond the beam. But the pine needles were pressed down in a rough shape, like something had been standing there, something with 2 feet, standing close together, the way a person stands when they're waiting. I woke Caleb then. He didn't believe me at first. He walked the perimeter of the camp with his own light and found nothing. We argued quietly. He went back to sleep. I did not. On the third morning, while Caleb was at the water's edge washing up, I walked into the tree line to use the bathroom. About 40 feet in, I found something that made me stop completely. Tied between 2 trees, at roughly eye level, was a length of old rope. It was dark with age, almost black, knotted at intervals, not a straight line. It curved between the trees in a wide arc, like it had been arranged deliberately. And hanging from the knots, tied with thin cord, were small bundles, sticks wrapped in more rope, stones with flat surfaces, and what looked unmistakably like animal bones, small ones, birds maybe, or something slightly larger. It was old. Whatever this was, it had been here for a long time. I didn't touch it. I went back and told Caleb. He went to look and came back very quiet. He didn't argue with me this time. We agreed we'd leave the next morning as planned and not make a big deal out of it. That third night, I barely slept at all, but the footsteps didn't come. The night was completely still, and somehow that was worse. The silence felt heavy and expectant, like something was simply done with its routine, like it no longer needed to walk around us, like it had already seen enough. We paddled out the next morning without speaking much. On the water, maybe a quarter-mile out, I looked back at the island. Caleb was paddling ahead of me and didn't see what I saw. On the rocky shoreline, right where we'd been camped, there was a figure standing, just standing there, watching us go. Dark clothing, were just dark, too far to see any features, still as a fence post. I paddled hard and didn't look back again. I've researched that island since then. It doesn't have an official name, but I found a forum post from 2011 from a fisherman who mentioned stopping there once and feeling watched the entire time. He mentioned finding rope and bones in the tree line. He also mentioned waking up at 2 a.m. He didn't say what he heard. He just said he never went back. Neither will I. The old man at the dock said only one thing to us before we launched. Don't answer if something calls your name at night. We laughed. He didn't. By the second night, none of us were laughing. This happened in August of 2021. There were 4 of us, myself, my older sister Priya, her boyfriend Marcus, and our friend Jess. We'd rented a small motorboat and headed out to a private island off the Georgia coast. Priya had found it through a vacation rental site. Remote, beautiful, a small cabin already set up on the property, no neighbors for miles, exactly what we wanted. The old man at the dock was the property caretaker. He handed us the key to the cabin, gave us basic instructions about the generator and the water, and then, just as we were pushing off, he said it. Don't answer if something calls your name at night. We asked him to repeat it. He did. His face didn't change. We asked what he meant. He just told us to enjoy our stay and walked back to his truck. We talked about it for the first 20 minutes on the water and then let it go. Superstitious old man, local ghost story, something to laugh about over dinner. The island was gorgeous in the daylight. Spanish moss hanging from live oaks, white sand between the trees. The cabin small but clean. We spent the day on the water and ate on the porch and watched the sun go down over the marsh. It was perfect. Then the generator ran out of fuel at around 11 and the cabin went dark. We had flashlights and candles. It was fine. We went to bed laughing about it. Marcus and Priya in the back bedroom, Jess and I in the front. I woke up at some point deep in the night. The cabin was silent. Completely silent in that specific way that only happens when something has just stopped making sound, like the silence was fresh. Then I heard it, from outside, beyond the tree line, a voice, clear as anything. It said my name. Not a shout, not a whisper, a conversational tone, like someone standing maybe 20 feet away saying my name to get my attention. And it sounded exactly like Marcus. I sat up. My heart was hammering. I almost called back. The word was literally forming in my throat. Then I remembered what the old man said. I pressed my lips together and did not make a sound. The voice called my name again. Still Marcus's voice. Exactly Marcus's voice. Patient, calm. I got up quietly and went to the back bedroom. I opened the door. Marcus was asleep. Priya was asleep beside him. I stood there in the dark, listening to him breathe, and the voice outside called my name a 3rd time. I went back to my room. Jess was still asleep. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the window until the gray light of dawn started coming through it. In the morning, I told everyone. Jess looked at me with an expression I didn't understand at first. Then she told me that she'd woken up in the night too. She'd heard a voice calling her name, Priya's voice, she said, clear and close, coming from outside. She hadn't answered either. We looked at Marcus. He was quiet for a long moment. He told us he'd heard it too. He thought it was me at first, my voice, calling his name from somewhere near the trees. He almost went to the door. Priya shook her head. She hadn't heard anything. She was the only one. We left that morning. We didn't clean up properly. We just packed what we could and went. At the dock, the old man was already there, like he'd been expecting us back early. He didn't look surprised. We asked him what was on that island. He looked at each of us, maybe counting. Then he asked, quietly, "All 4 of you came back?" We said yes. He nodded slowly and said, "Good." He never explained. We never went back to ask. But that question, "all 4 of you," I've turned it over in my mind every night since then. The way he asked it, like it was a real question, like he wasn't entirely sure what the answer would be. Like sometimes, when people go out to that island, not all of them find their way back to the boat. Or maybe something else finds its way back instead.
I counted us when we landed. 6 people. On the last morning, we counted again. There were 7 sets of footprints leading from the campfire to the tree line. No one had gone to the tree line. My name is Rebecca Thorne. I'm a nurse. I don't tell that to establish credibility. I say it because I'm a practical person. I believe in what I can measure and observe. I am not someone who spooks easily. What happened on Kellen Island in the summer of 2018 does not have a rational explanation. I've accepted that. It took me almost 2 years to accept it, but I have. Kellen Island sits about 9 miles off the northern coast of Washington State. It's uninhabited. The state owns it. Camping is permitted from May through September. You file a permit, take your own boat, leave no trace. We had done this trip before, 3 years earlier with a different group. Nothing had happened then. Nothing had felt wrong. This time there were 6 of us, myself, my husband Tom, our friends Barry and Christine, and a younger couple, Evan and Sadie, whom Barry had invited along. We planned for 5 nights. The first 2 days were fine. The island is beautiful in a severe, windswept way. Tall, rocky bluffs, spruce trees bent from years of coastal wind, tide pools full of life. We hiked, fished, cooked over the fire. Normal. On the 3rd night, Christine woke me. She was shaking. She said she'd gone outside to use the bathroom and she'd seen someone standing at the edge of the tree line across the clearing, just standing there, watching the camp. She said it was the shape of a person, tall, completely still. Tom did a full sweep with a high-powered flashlight. Nothing. We told Christine it was shadows, the shape of a tree, the way eyes play tricks at 3 in the morning. She didn't argue, but she didn't go back to sleep either. The next morning, Barry found something. On the far side of the island, down near the south-facing beach, there was a campsite, old and clearly long abandoned, but a campsite, a ring of stones that had been used as a fire pit many times over many years. The wood debris inside it was completely blackened, almost charcoal. Around it, in the dirt and sand, there were shallow impressions, like the ground had been compacted by something sitting or kneeling in a ring around the fire pit. We checked our permit paperwork. Kellen Island had not issued a permit to anyone else this season. The ranger's office was 9 miles of open water away. We talked about leaving. Tom and Barry thought we were overreacting. Evan said nothing. Sadie wanted to go. Christine wanted to go. I was on the fence, and I still feel ashamed of that. We stayed. That night, I woke at around 3 and couldn't get back to sleep. I lay there listening to the wind. Then I became aware of something, a sound that was almost nothing, a soft, rhythmic sound from somewhere outside the tent closest to me. Not wind, not the waves, breathing. I woke Tom. We both lay still and listened. He heard it too. I watched his face change in the dark. It stopped after a few minutes, and we heard nothing else. In the morning, none of us wanted to talk about what we'd each experienced during the night, but we were all packing up. No one said anything. We just all quietly started packing. That's when Evan found the footprints.
We had one soft, sandy approach from the campfire toward the trees where we'd been going throughout the trip to use the bathroom. Our footprints were all through it. Evan was counting them, or trying to count the number of distinct sets of tracks, and he stopped and said nothing for a while. Then he said, "There's a set here none of us made." We crowded around. He was right. Among our own overlapping tracks, there was a distinct set of prints heading from near the campfire toward the deep tree line, not toward the bathroom area, toward the dark center of the island. They were longer and narrower than any of ours. They pressed deeper into the sand. They did not come back. We loaded the boat in under 20 minutes. I filed a report with the ranger station. They were polite. They said they'd look into it. I don't know if they ever did. Here is what I cannot resolve, and what I think about when I wake up at 3 in the morning and the house is very quiet. We were on that island for 3 days before Christine saw someone at the tree line, which means that whatever left those tracks had been there since before we arrived. It had been there watching us set up camp, watching us eat and laugh and sleep for at least 2 full days and nights before it made a single mistake. It was patient. It was careful, and it only let us see it when it wanted to. Whatever it wanted, I don't think it was to scare us. I think it just wanted to watch, and I think wherever we go, something still does.